Good morning and welcome to your Stylo News Intelligence Update for June 11th, 2026. I'm your host. Over the last 2 weeks, the space domain has seen a significant surge in activity. Today, we're bringing you a clear, fact-based intelligence briefing to help decode exactly how the dynamics above our atmosphere are shifting.
Before we dive into the data, we'd like to acknowledge the platform making this open-source intelligence briefing possible. Today's explainer is sponsored by ProWave AI. They are the developers behind Stylo and TelOps, an AI-powered intelligence program, and Stylo News, the commercial platform you can find on the web and mobile apps. Their system provides the trusted, real-time foundation for the complex information we'll be breaking down for you today.
Let's get right to the bottom line. Our assessment reveals two very distinct approaches by state actors in the space domain right now. First, the data shows that Russia is presenting the most immediate, near-term operational risks to allied and commercial space systems. On the flip side, the People's Republic of China is taking a separate track, methodically building out long-term strategic pacing capabilities. We're going to examine the evidence behind both of these assessments, keeping our focus strictly on the observed actions.
To give you a geographic perspective, the critical operational nodes we're tracking span all the way from Europe to Asia. In Asia, we're keeping a close watch on the Jiuquang Satellite Launch Center in China, which is a major hub for their crewed and infrastructure missions. Over in Europe, our attention turns to the Arctic, specifically the Esstrong Space Center in Sweden. These locations are the terrestrial starting points for the orbital events we'll be discussing. Looking at these actors side by side reveals some clear differences in strategy. On one hand, we've seen multiple Russian spacecraft deliberately engaging in co-orbital maneuvers. They've been flying in very close proximity to a commercial ICE radar satellite that provides intelligence support to Ukraine. When you combine that proximity with reported GPS signal jamming, it paints a picture of immediate electronic interference. Now contrast that with China's approach. We've recently seen their successful Shenzhou 23 crewed mission, steady progress toward a permanent lunar base by 2035 in partnership with Roscosmos, and the deployment of their Tianfan constellation. It's a very sustained, methodical buildup of dual-use orbital infrastructure.
And it's not just happening in orbit. We're also seeing expanded zones of strategic infrastructure on the ground. Recent intelligence picked up an unannounced Long March 12B launch carrying dual-use Tianfan communication satellites. Plus, imagery shows new hardened space infrastructure emerging in the Xinjiang region, right near strategic missile fields, alongside ongoing operations at Russia's Plesetsk Cosmodrome. The lack of transparency around these launches, combined with the dual-use nature of the facilities, really highlights why rigorous, continuous monitoring is so essential right now.
So what are the broader impacts of all this? Well, strategically, they are widespread. Commercial intelligence and reconnaissance systems, like the ISI network we just mentioned, are increasingly vulnerable, essentially caught in the crosshairs of geopolitical conflicts. At a regional level, vital Northern European launch sites like Andoya and Estrange are facing regulatory and political friction, which is delaying their operational readiness. But perhaps most crucially, as civilian commercial systems are increasingly used for military logistics, the lines between civil and military assets are blurring, and that significantly raises the risk of international miscalculation.
When we look at how key decision-makers and the public perceive this evolving landscape, we see some sharp divergences. The U.S. Space Force and NASA are keeping their focus on resilience and the steady progress of the Artemis lunar program. Conversely, Roscosmos and China are heavily promoting their lunar-based partnership and dual-use expansion, driving social media sentiment with hashtags like Shenzhou 23. But interestingly, if you look at the commercial sector, the biggest driver of online sentiment isn't state conflict at all. It's the massive financial buzz surrounding a potential SpaceX initial public offering. The contrast between geopolitical maneuvering and commercial market anticipation is really quite striking.
A recent analysis from Space News sums up the gravity of the situation perfectly, noting that the operating environment is becoming more contested and congested. That simple phrase highlights a profound reality. With nuclear-armed rivals operating in close orbital altitudes and a real lack of universally agreed-upon rules for space traffic, satellite density isn't just a civil regulatory issue anymore. It's a matter of global strategic stability. Establishing transparent international space governance is increasingly being viewed as an absolute necessity to prevent any accidental escalation.
Looking ahead, here is our near-term strategic forecast of the key events you should be watching. Over the next few weeks, we expect ongoing updates regarding the investigation into the recent Blue Origin New Glenn rocket anomaly at Cape Canaveral. Additionally, NASA has scheduled their highly anticipated announcement of the Artemis 3 lunar mission crew for June 9th. And finally, the aerospace and financial sectors will be keeping a very close eye on the mid to late June preparations for SpaceX's expected public market debut. And that concludes this morning's Intelligence Explainer. We've walked through the data, mapped out the key operational nodes, and forecasted what's on the horizon. But to really dive deep into this comprehensive analysis covering the past 2 weeks, we highly encourage you to listen to our full podcast. It's called Orbital Flashpoints, Russia, China, and the New Space Battlefield, and you can find it right now on your favorite channel or by following the link in this post. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We also invite you to subscribe at stylonews.com, where you can get AI-powered news on demand. We'll leave you with this final thought. As we look to the stars, how will the international community manage to balance this rapid, exciting commercial expansion with the pressing, undeniable need for orbital security? We'll leave that for you to consider. Have a great day.